Hello, welcome to another episode of KAIZEN Spotlight. These are conversations with KAIZEN champions, and today it's an absolute pleasure to have another KAIZEN champion whom we have known for over 2 decades now, Mr. Venu Nair. Venu Nair-san, welcome to KAIZEN Spotlight. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Jayant.
Thank you so much. The way I remember Venu Nair-san, I know him as the aluminum man. Okay, he's always a great conductor of great ideas like aluminum, and a very quick introduction to this thorough professional that I've had the privilege of knowing. Venu-san is a mechanical engineer from Indian Institute of Science, a very prestigious institute. And his career spanning almost 35 years or more, correct me if I'm wrong, has been in the aluminum industry. As a business leader, a man who has set up projects, has driven them very profitably. His career started with one of the premium aluminum industries in India, Hindalco, where he worked for almost 10 years. Then he was with Sterlite Industries, and later moved his base to Africa, and he was based in Mombasa, a beautiful location, I should confess. And he spent 25 years, almost 25 years, with the Comcraft Group, which is part of, it's a large group with interest in steel and aluminium and other businesses. Mr. Nair was heading their aluminium business under the name Kalu Works and Karam. And from taking raw material in the form of aluminum, converting them into various utensils, various products, circles, etc. He's has been truly a man who has contributed to the growth of the aluminum industry in Africa. About 2 years ago, he moved back to India and now heads the interest of the Anarchitects Group. So pleasure to have you, Venu Nair Saab. Apologies if I missed out something when introducing you. But my first question to you is, we have known you as an aluminum man and we have known you as a KAIZEN champion. You adopted KAIZEN, if I remember correctly, almost 20 years ago in Mombasa when you were heading Kalu Works. So what draws you even now to KAIZEN?
Yeah, thank you, Jay. Thank you for that copious introduction. There's a saying that if you want to learn swimming, you have to be pushed to the deep end. And that's exactly what happened. When I was in Indian Aluminium Company, now it is Hindalco, there was so much of emphasis on engineering, technology, excelling in applied sciences. And which was, for a young graduate at that time, finding application in engineering was the ultimate thing that you can think of. Yeah. You never really thought about what's the impact on business, right? And that was my upbringing, my formative years. And then years later, when I went to Kenya, stepping into Kenya itself, I encountered the El Nino, a massive global meltdown, 1998 recession, and downsizing and what have you. And I was straddled with a situation where there were huge inventories. I didn't learn to see inventory until I realized that if I have to turn that inventory, it would take me 8 months to turn it just once. So that was the impact. So the cash flows became virtually, a nightmare. So this is what I got into. So there had to be radical changes, and that is where the learning started. You can sit in a class and be taught, but then when you have to swim, you have to find solutions to stay afloat. I think that learning becomes fundamental learning. Absolutely. And that is when I realized that lean, that's when I heard this word lean, from this Womack and Jones, lean thinking. That's when I learned to see the various kinds of wastes, you know.
Yeah.
And I learned it not because I was attending a general knowledge quiz or something. I learned it because I had to turn around this company and safeguard my interests and of course the interests of the team that was there, and they were all looking up to me.
Right. So when a push comes to a shove, I think that's when. Yeah.
That's when you learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So that's how it all began. And now, 20 years down the road, you know, what enamors me most about Kaizen, it's a way of life actually, you know, more than anything else. One might say that you apply it in industry, you improve the profitability of the company, but that's only consequential. What Kaizen does is changes a person. It changed me. It changed my way of thinking. And virtually I started applying it everywhere, you know, including my personal life. And now since I'm here in India, I found that still India also has a long way to go in understanding and seeing waste.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So when you, I remember distinctively when you started implementing these practices, which we call collectively as the Kaizen way. Um, can you recollect and share with us what was the impact on the shop floor and what was the impact of the business? You said you were grappling with an kind of an 8-month inventory issue. So where did it all? Where was the sweet spot and where did it go?
Actually, what the main thing that we achieved, actually, which led us, we had to have the breakthrough came in basically adopting the fundamental principle that if you make quality stuff, quality is not only free, but it also pays back dividend. In the sense
Absolutely.
that one of the basic reasons why the company was in that condition was that it was an aluminum plant, and
Yeah.
and the people there thought that lesser the cost of input, better the profit, because you're reducing input costs.
Yeah. So just one single focus. Yeah.
Just one single focus. And then when we started with a mathematical model first to prove that that doesn't help us, because finally you waste more by starting with something which is not good.
Very nice.
And that was the change of philosophy which was bought in by my superiors, who were also very enlightened, and they saw that yes, if we change our thinking, that means we make a paradigm shift in our understanding that cheap is not best.
Yeah.
And that changed the whole story of Kaluworks aluminum rolling mills, where we started using pure metal rather than using a lot of scrap. So pure metal became a very standardized process, because ingots come from a very standardized process.
Yeah.
And we reduce the noise in the system. Scrap is basically noise because you don't know what's the purity. Like even if you try and measure, it will give you all sorts of random figures. So we are dealing with an unpredictable process. So first thing is we made the process predictable, and the process capability, we improved it to almost 98, 99%.
So, what was the over the years as you adopted these practices and refined it? I knew you were trying a lot of different ways to refine it. It was a long journey. What was the? Can you pick up some typical business impact, if you take away the noise that came because of the market conditions and the recessions, etc., macroeconomics, as one says, what exactly can you pinpoint in terms of the business benefits that you got because you engaged in this journey with your team members?
Okay. You see, when we restarted, like we went through the El Nino, so the whole Kenya was devastated. Almost 60% of what we produced was sold in Kenya, and the rest of it was sold outside Kenya in the East African markets, South Africa, Sub-Saharan market, Ethiopia, etc., etc. Okay.
Yeah.
And when we changed our input material, the equipment started performing in the sense that, to give you a scale, about 400 tons per month, we were starting to do 900 tons a month. Outputs went up.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And the moment the volume changes to, dramatically, it's not a matter of 10, 20%, it's almost 100%, a twofold increase in your output, just because you are producing good quality metal.
Yeah.
And bad quality metal is very unforgiving as far as the process is concerned. When good quality metal started coming, outputs virtually doubled, and it was dramatic. It was overnight.
Fantastic.
And this was all done with a very lean group of people, very dedicated. And when they saw success in that, then it was like a domino effect, And that is when we realized that it is not only one person who should do the thinking. The thinking cascaded down the entire team.
Yeah.
And so it became very easy. Like erstwhile, it was just one guy, one Einstein or Newton sitting on top, dictating terms, and the others you are expected to follow. But when we took a right policy decision that we will only use quality material, it made a breakthrough. And the moment it made a breakthrough, then everybody understood that breakthrough. And when everybody understands that breakthrough, then they start seeing how to maximize that breakthrough.
Now, more recently, you came back to India, and you now run the operations of an aluminum company and Architects, the aluminum division of it. And I know that you are redesigning your factory, building a new factory, and you've been trying to adopt what we call as some KAIZEN or Lean principles very early at the design stage of your plant. Any experience, any reflections from how it has been helping you when you're doing this at the drawing board stage? How is it the impact of this?
You see, the first thing I want to mention here is, let me just step back to my previous story.
Yeah.
That is, you see, when we were trying to solve the problems, that is when the KAIZEN Institute came in. I remember we met Jayant, you and Mr. Grover.
Yeah.
We met in Pardini for a short time. And then somewhere in 2004, I think you guys came over and we went in for a Gemba KAIZEN workshop.
Yeah.
If you remember.
Yes. Yes.
Now, that was the right time. From 2000 to 2004, we turned around the company.
Yeah.
And then we realized that we need to formalize this whole thing about the lean journey and the lean thinking and continuous improvement.
Right.
We had to formalize it. And we had the KAIZEN Institute bang opposite at Mabati Rolling Mills.
Yes.
And that's where one day you guys just walked across the fence and came down and we met. And that's where our KAIZEN journey started.
That's right? 2004.
2004, exactly.
Yeah.
And in 2004, what we embarked with 5S and those kind of thing. And a lot of my senior colleagues at that time, they were wondering what the hell we are up to. We are just cleaning up the place, and it was called as Jhadu Pocha.
Yeah.
And well, since I had already gone through this grounding by lean thinking, by Womack,
Yeah.
and my experience, which I started when I started practicing in a very informal way, I was looking for change, And when that happened, what hit me was after the second or third GKW,
Yeah.
we got into the routine of a 5-day GKW,
Yeah.
first 2 days learning, then data collection, forming the team,
Yeah.
then collecting data, then trying to make sense out of data, analyzing it, making a plan, and Thursday, Friday, crash course implementation.
Correct. Yeah.
And who is the team? The team is comprising of ordinary people. No Einsteins, no Newtons, no Amitabh Bachchans.
Yeah.
Just ordinary people. And
Yeah.
then they make the change on the floor. And when they make the change, about 80-90% of the time, the thinking was right, the project yielded and made dramatic changes on the floor.
So.
So at the end of the day, at the end of the week, when we would sit and see what we did, we had a bunch of ordinary people presenting. Ordinary people.
Frontliners. Yes, I remember. Yes, they were the simple Joes and Johns. Yeah.
Yes. Ordinary people started presenting. Ordinary people started thinking. And the factory floor transformed.
Yeah.
The lead times came down. Inventories came down. Our inventory turn ratio went from 1.5. Ultimately, by the time I had left, it was sitting at around 8.5.
Wow.
The
From one and a
inventory,
half turns to 8 turns.
yes. So for those who understand the impact of inventory turns on the bottom line, I think can clearly see the strides that were taken. And not only that, the company expanded.
Yeah.
$15 million was put into the same company, which was virtually being sold out to Nigeria in 1980 and 1999.
Yeah.
That much was put in. So now coming here, I know the impact that Kaizen can make in this company, like an Architects Group, a 50-year-old company.
Yeah.
A company that has traditionally been very closed in a sort of a quasi-rural setup of Kerala. With the KTEX group itself, they have about 2,000 in one location and 8,000 in another location workers.
Yeah.
And the aluminium group with about, say, 300 workers.
Yeah.
And here, what was very important was in the aluminium group, to set up a modern plant like what we have in Kenya.
Yeah.
And with that kind of an experience, which I had, the easiest way that we can have a sure shot factory that you have a standardized product and producing without any delays within the shortest time, that is meeting the customer's demand on time in full error free, was a proper layout. And the
Yeah.
layout, I understood by then that there is a lean way of designing a layout,
Yes.
which we did in Pardini way back in 2011, 2012.
When you are
Where
merging those two companies, right? The two
Yes.
processes. Yes.
So 15,000 square meters became
Yeah.
3,600 square meters. And
Can you repeat that number again? So through a good redesign, a lean layout, 15,000 square meters became 3,000. Am I right?
3,600 square meters.
And you could produce the same products.
Not only the same, much more than what we were doing when this factory was in Mombasa. We shifted it to Mariakani.
You merged it. Amazing.
Yeah.
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 I see.
So when we see such things happening right in front of our eyes,
Yeah.
the impact it has on the people,
Yeah.
is amazing. Their self-esteem, self-respect, everything goes up. Others look at them with a lot of respect. Bankers come, see the factory, and look at these workers with a lot of respect.
Right.
So
So true.
that's exactly what we are trying to do here. We started the GKWs at Kitex,
Yeah.
and there's a sea change in what has happened there. Within a year, they have recouped almost about 40 lakhs of revenue.
Mm-hmm.
The factory changed, people changed,
Yeah.
and now we are setting up this new plant, aluminum plant, where we have already done the lean factory design.
Right.
The layout has become streamlined. In the process, people have also understood the basic principles of Kaizen in the aluminum side. Although we didn't have GKWs, but the lean factory design itself necessitated
Yeah.
knowledge on various Kaizen tools.
Right.
Understanding 5S,
Pull. Line
root
balancing.
cause analysis,
Yeah.
and all those things.
Fantastic. So, you mentioned something very interesting, which I also believe that during this pandemic, this whole the whole thing that is unfolding,
Right.
and it's going to have we are seeing a significant impact. It's going to have impact that we still can't visualize on business and our personal lives and on the society. Would you almost as a last comment, would you like to draw some connections between the need for Kaizen, the need to think about how to eliminate Muda Muramuri, and dealing with this challenging times? What connections do you see?
Yeah. So again, like what I found myself in 1999, when we had a recession there, we didn't know how things are going to shape up, whether the company is going to be closed. All those
Yeah,
problems we are again going to have now, thanks to changing global alliances. People joining
correct.
together, America and all the others joining together against China. The COVID-19, we don't know how
Correct.
COVID-19 is going to face up, right? In the next
Correct.
few months, things, as it appears, are getting more bleak if you look at it. So under these
Yeah.
circumstances, I think right now, I would say everybody, virtually everybody, is going back to strategy, number one.
Mm-hmm.
That is, they have suddenly realized that their true north is might change. Circumstances might be changing your true north. So the strategy, your roadmap,
Yeah.
is being rethought.
Right.
Then secondly, then we look at our capabilities and our resources,
Yeah.
and we look at our strengths there in our capability, and then we look at what our resources are.
Yeah.
And then once we know our strategic path, we need to then drive performance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is what we are all back into.
Back to the drawing board. Yeah.
We are back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Like a simple thing like here in Kerala, it's not easy to get labor.
Yeah.
Labor comes from UP, Bihar, Orissa,
Yeah.
okay, and Bengal.
Yeah.
And those guys are all scattered now, thanks to this. It is difficult for people to travel now. It's not easy. This
Yeah.
containment zones and the quarantines and then the observation time.
Yeah.
So with all these, upskilling people, multi-skilling people, all that took a lot of precedence. And we were fortunate enough that in our last sprint of GKW, in Kitex, we actually focused on this very subject, that my horizon was 5 years. In 5 years, Odisha is going to develop, UP is going to develop, Bihar is going to develop. All these states are on a fairly good growth path. 5 years down the line, we are not going to get people from there.
Correct.
So we need to work on multi-skilling.
Correct.
We need to, upgrade them. And as you have it after COVID-19, the whole thing became now. It's not 5 years. It's now.
Yeah.
The change is now.
Did you start adopting TWI?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
We started with TWI, training within industry. Then we worked on JI.
Yeah, job instructions. Yeah.
Yes.
Very powerful.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
And after that, we also got a software. For the textile industry, we have a beautiful software that helps us, to identify the process times and,
Very interesting.
And we know exactly where the skill enhancement should happen. There's a lot of work that is going on.
Fantastic. So, Venu-san, it's always a pleasure to connect and interact with a Kaizen believer, a Kaizen champion. And we always say that a Kaizen champion is a person who has a unique combination of not only understanding the principles, but also is able to put it into action. Because we call it Kaizen mentality is a way of acting plus a way of thinking plus a way of acting. And many people understand it, but they don't act on it. And some people act on it, just get into the action without understanding the principles behind it. And true transformation happens, true understanding of Kaizen happens when there's a combination of both, the way of thinking changes and the way of acting also changes. And you have really displayed that. You moved forward and tried and applied and changed the way you do things, and that has continues to give you results. So thank you so much for your time. Unfortunately, we have a format, and we only have budgeted for a few minutes of interaction, and in today's world, people's attention is also is limited. So probably we will come back to you with a second part of this interaction, this conversation, with some more questions and some more opportunities to pick from your vast experience. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us, and we sincerely hope that the world heals well and completely from this current pandemic, and there is overall, peace and growth and tranquility. Thank you, Venu Nair sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jayant.